You're my problem, Suicide Squad. You represent everything that really distresses me about films. You're not the worst film I've ever seen. Yeah, I have to admit that. It's not one of the worst films I've seen this year, but it's definitely not one of the best, at least to me personally. It's it represents everything that everything that that really frustrates me when it comes to watching a movie because it's full of so much wasted potential. And that's what frustrates me more than anything, is a film that has so much potential and completely blows it and doesn't live up to its full potential because of whatever reason, because of bad writing or bad storytelling or uh, inconsistent characters, all these other different elements, and it's just very frustrating because a movie that's just straight up shit, like August Underground or Demented, I didn't have any hopes for it to begin with, and it didn't have any. There was no hope for it from the beginning. There was no way in hell it was going to be anything other than shit. Suicide Squad, on the other hand, there was a lot of potential here for a potentially classic film. Not only just an enjoyable movie, but one of the better DC live action adaptations to date. And it just, for me personally, it just did not do that. And that's what's so upsetting to me. I'm disappointed. I'm not really mad at Suicide Squad. I'm disappointed. Anyway, welcome to the Suicide Squad review slash rant. This was requested for me to review by many people, including Chris L. He's a friend of mine, and he'd been requesting this on Facebook a bunch of times. And there's a few other people who were curious to hear my thoughts on the film. I kind of delayed it a bit because I saw my friend Matt's thoughts on it, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know, like that's not a good sign." And then, I was like, I don't really want to spend one of my few free tickets on this. So I waited till it came out little bit later, and then I ended up seeing it with my stepdad. And I saw Batman vs Superman with him, so it only makes sense that we saw Suicide Squad together, and we both really weren't that impressed with it. I'd say he probably liked it more than I did, but yeah, we both thought it was better than Batman vs Superman. I'm gonna say that it's better than Batman vs Superman. That's not really saying much. Oh, it's better than Sad Man vs Superman. Great. I mean, it's not that hard to be better than that movie. So anyway, Suicide Squad is a 2016 comic book film based on the DC comics of the same name. I haven't really read that many of the Suicide Squad comics, so I'm not really that big of an expert on them. So I can't really say how well it adapted the comics. Maybe if I was, this might upset me even more. I don't know. It's something that I'm not really that well experienced with. The film is directed by David Ayer, who is quickly becoming one of the most disappointing and just kind of infuriating directors because David Ayer seems like he's a guy who knows what he's doing. Like he can really direct a film, but he just seems to be nowhere near as talented when it comes to writing. I haven't seen Fury, but I did see Sabotage, and that was a piece of shit. It really was awful. And I haven't seen End of Watch, but I am kind of curious about that one. I like Street Kings, but he didn't write it, so that might be why. That might be why he didn't write that. So, and he's written things like he actually wrote Fast and the Furious, Training Day, U571, SWAT, Dark Blue, and he wrote this. And I'd have to say this is probably the worst film he's written, right up there. No, I'd say it's a tie. It's a tie with Sabotage. I mean, both films were poorly written, piss poorly written. And Suicide Squad, one of the biggest problems of this film is its screenplay. The story is generic, boring, and completely forgettable. It's not engaging in the slightest. It's not interesting. Um, and there's a few elements of it here and there, like few script elements that are I mean, what I mean by the story as a whole is not interesting or engaging. But there's like a few sequences and moments that are kind of interesting, I thought. But there weren't enough of them to really make it that interesting or that engaging of a film. It peters out like after the hour mark. After the hour mark. I don't know why this film was almost 2 hours long. It's just too, and then there's like an extended cut. I mean, it's over 2 hours long. And it's not almost 2 hours long. It is over 2 hours long. It's 123 minutes. It's way too long. This should have been a faster paced, like 90-minute thrill ride type movie with, fast paced and fun. And it just dragged, especially after the first half. And the second and third act, it just fell apart. It completely fell apart at the seams after the first half or so. And that's really where the film started to miss its potential for me. It started to miss its mark. Now, yeah, it's directed by David Ayer. It's also written by David Ayer. I know I've heard people say, well, he didn't have that much time to write it. He had like 8 months. I'm like, that's 2 months and like a couple weeks. So that's almost 3 months. He almost had 3 months to write. That's a decent amount of time to write a screenplay. He should be able to write a competent, really solid screenplay in that amount of time. I'm not giving him an excuse for that. Because he's already an established writer. It's not like he's a new writer. It's not like he's a newbie. He's written a bunch of screenplays before. Having only, almost 3 months to write it, I think that's enough time to write the script. You could have had rewrites. You could have had something could have been done. And as far as I know, there might have been rewrites done. And that might be why the film has such a drastic shift in tone. And why the film it just decides to be some really shitty Marvel film near the end with really shitty lines of dialogue. Um, the film stars Will Smith as Deadshot, as Floyd Lawton. You also have Jared Leto, who plays the Joker. Margot Robbie, who plays Harley Quinn. And there's there's going to be an abundance of Harley Quinn costumes being worn this Halloween. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's probably going to be the most popular Halloween costume, bar none, especially for teenage girls or women who want to dress sexy. Want to dress like sexily for the Halloween party. Um, you also have Joe Kinnaman. Yes, Joel Kinnaman. Can I get a what? What? Can you go the fuck away? Get your Robocock out of my face. Joel Kinnaman. He still sucks Robocock. He still sucks Robocock. He was a replacement, last minute replacement for Matt Hardy. Not Matt Hardy. Woo! Swanton Bomb! No, for Tom Hardy. Oh, man. So, yeah, he was the last minute replacement for Tom Hardy, and yeah, he can't act. Does he have pictures of somebody in Hollywood? Is that why he's still getting acting jobs? This guy cannot fucking act. He can't. He sucks. Like I said, he sucks Robocock. He does. Viola Davis plays Amanda Waller. Jai Courtney plays Captain Boomerang. And Jai Courtney is still Jai Courtney. I'd say it's like it seemed like he had some sort of personality here, but he didn't have that much to do, so it didn't really make that much of a difference. You have James Hernandez, who plays El Diablo, and Adewale Abi, Abijay. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. I do not know how to say his name. He plays Killer Croc. And Cara Delevingne, I don't know how to say her last name is Cara either. Cara Delevingne as the Enchantress, and Karen Fukuhara as Katana, and you also have Ike Barinholtz from Mad TV and Neighbors as Griggs. And Ben Affleck makes a little cameo as Batman. And that's honestly pretty much about it in terms of the cast. You want my thoughts on some of the other characters more in depth? I'll get to that when I start talking about the plot. So I have something more to talk about than just the plot. Um, it features music by Stephen Price, which is forgettable in one ear, out the other, completely. This film, it's like it didn't even bother to have a score. It's like they gave Stephen Price some things to do, like they threw him a bone, but there really isn't much there. So it's just like, what is going on here? So instead, this film's score is somebody's iPod on shuffle. That's really what it is. You have some great songs, but there's no cohesiveness to these songs. They play on shuffle. It's completely random. So, and there's no, it's not like Guardians of the Galaxy, which just did remind me of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it's trying to be DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy for the Hot Topic crowd. It was just really, I don't know, it was just very, it was kind of obvious that they were pandering to that particular crowd. And you had some great songs like Queen and other songs and so on. But, it just was very schizophrenic, just like the film's tone. So you'd have in one scene you'd have Eminem, and then in the next scene you have the Slim Shady song, I'm the real Slim Shady, blah, 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 blah. So you have that one. And then the next scene, it's going up in spirit in the sky. Do 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 when I die. I'm just like, what the hell? Like this just does not blend. This doesn't work. You can't have an Eminem rap and then have fucking going up in the spirit in the sky. It's just completely. It's so jarring. It's distracting. It really is. The musical soundtrack with all these popular songs became distracting after a while. I just kept waiting for an actual score to show up instead of a song. And then most of the time, the score, when it would show up, was just completely forgettable. So I could see why they just went with songs, because the score that they had was nothing. There was nothing to this score. So it was kind of fun to hear some songs, but still, it just kind of, it didn't work. I wasn't, some of these songs didn't necessarily work really well with the scenes. It was just like, let's just throw this song in here because it's cool and people like the song, so let's throw the song in here. And unlike something like Hardcore Henry, which had a lot of music in it, but I thought the music was really well chosen. Like it actually fit the scenes that it was in. It actually enhanced the sequences. A lot of the music that was used here didn't really do anything to enhance the scenes that it was in. There's a couple instances, but not very many. The cinematography by Roman Vasanov, just very dark and gray, and there was a few times when there was some style to it, but then it completely dissipated by the time the film got to its climax. It was disappointing, actually. I mean, there's some great, beautiful shots. The scene in I think it's like a wax, a factory or something that or Axis Chemicals. The scene where, and that's one instance where the music actually worked pretty well in that scene. And another instance I can think of is a scene where Harley Quinn is in the elevator and she's fighting off some of these creatures, and they use like a song like "Swing Bada Bada" or something like that. That was actually pretty good. The little bit of a hip hop song they used there, I thought that fit the sequence rather well. The other sequences, not necessarily. But that's just me personally. But yeah, I mean, there's some gorgeous shots in this film. I mean, that's the thing. There's some really nice looking shots in this movie, but as a whole, it was a mess. It wasn't so bad. It made me, I wanted to put myself on suicide watch or put a bullet in my head, but I wouldn't say it was good. I really lost interest about after the reveal of what the Suicide Squad was risking their lives for in their first mission. The editing by John Gilroy was a fucking disaster. It was egregious. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if he's to blame or if it was the studio, whatever. It was a hack job. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about those elements. There's a few other things like visual effects wise I wanted to talk about before I got into the plot. Namely, the CGI, it's really bad at times, especially the shots of Enchantress near, when she's at her full form. That was awful. I saw better CGI in Fan 4 Stick. I really did. That was really terrible. You could tell it was behind a green screen. It was smoothed out. It was DNR'd to shit. It looked like shit. It was terrible. Um, the scenes with Diablo in his skeleton form and Enchantress's no-name brother, like those weren't very. The CGI in those scenes weren't very good either. I mean, yeah, there were some practical effects on Killer Croc and on those minions that are of the Enchantress, but Killer Croc, the effect was pretty good. I thought it was nice that they did it with practical effects. But Killer Croc didn't do shit. He was pretty much a crock of shit the entire time, so it didn't really make much of a difference. Well, what a waste of some good practical effects. Nice. When in the minions, they're generic as fuck. They look like walking caviar. Like who would have thought that was a good idea? Or they look like killer raspberries or killer blackberries. Oh my god, it's Attack of the Killer Blackberries. Run. It was this very generic looking creature design, if you want to call it a creature. So anyway, I just wanted to point those things out. So here's the plot. I'm gonna I have to consult Wikipedia because I really forgot most of this movie already. So it starts out after the aftermath of Superman's death, which they didn't fucking earn. I hated it. I hated that they had to remind me of Batman vs. Superman. You didn't have to do that movie. I know you're taking place in the same universe. You didn't have to do that though. And with dumb lines of dialogue like, well, what if Superman could have taken the top off the Senate and like kidnapped or killed everybody in the Senate? Like, well, who was going to protect us? Not this band of criminals. They ain't gonna stop Superman. You'd be better off calling Batman. That's who you should be calling, not the Suicide Squad. So anyway, after the Superman died, more like like somber man died, and nobody gave a shit. Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, who I swear to God in this movie was delivering such a hammy performance that she deserves a Razzie nomination. She deserves it. She deserves at least a Razzie nomination for her performance in this. She was chewing up the scenery. It was completely unbelievable. She's trying to be, I guess she's trying to be villainous, but it was just bad. It was cringe-inducing, especially the time when the Enchantress has kidnapped her, and the Enchantress is saying that she's going to do some stuff. She's like, give me the plans. Tell me how to stop your armies. And then Viola Davis is all like, do your worst, bitch. It was just really bad. Tone deaf. It totally reminded me of the type of line delivery that I remember seeing from the actress in Drag Me to Hell. That kind of bad line delivery that isn't believable in the slightest. Just try hard. Do your worst, bitch. It's just like, oh god, just please stop. Yeah, I did not care for her performance. I thought it was honestly really awful. So she assembles this team, the Suicide Squad, which she likes to call Task Force X. A team of dangerous criminals who are imprisoned at the Belle Reve prison, consisting of Deadshot, played by Will Smith. Who I have to admit, I like Will Smith. I like Will Smith in this. I like Deadshot. There were some fun little scenes that showed Deadshot use his abilities. His crack shot abilities. I liked Will Smith. He was definitely one of the things I liked about this movie. Harley Quinn. Another thing I liked about the film, I can see why people thought she stole the show. She kind of did, along with Will Smith. I mean, they were definitely the two characters I really liked the most. Margot Robbie was just chock full of charisma in this role and was a lot of fun to watch. But I don't know how she's gonna handle her own film. Her personality might get a bit too abrasive, but we'll see. Maybe it could be like a female Deadpool. I'd be up for that type of movie, an anti-hero type film, but with Harley Quinn. Just don't let David Ayer write it or direct it, and get Zack Snyder as far away from it as possible. But yeah, I could see why people were attracted to her, not only sexually but as well as critically. You have a pyrokinetic guy named El Diablo. You know, he's played by, like I was saying earlier, Jay Hernandez. The actor was fine. I thought the performance was fine. It's just the character, it's just kind of a cliche thing. Like he's some Mexican gangster, you know, and he fucked up and used his powers too much and used them to get power, and then he couldn't control them and accidentally killed his family, so that's why he doesn't want to use his powers, and then of course he has to use them later. And then you have really bad lines of dialogue later in the film where he's all like, "We're family, man. I'm gonna protect my family." It's like, family? You've just barely met these people. You're more like acquaintances or friends. They're not family yet. I already killed my family once. I'm not gonna let it happen again. You know, just like, yeah, no, I, way too early, way too early. He was fine. The performance is just the character is not really much of anything, and then he has really bad lines of dialogue near the end. It's supposed to be his badass one-liners, and they're just awful. Like he says, "It's on, bitch," in Spanish, and then grabs the face of the nameless and enchantress's nameless brother, and then says, "You're screwed now," or something like, "You're so screwed, bro." You might as well said that. It was terrible. It was just bad. You're screwed. Now you're screwed. That's what it was. Now you're screwed. That's the best line of dialogue you could come up with. Now you're screwed. Yeah, that's right. You're screwed because you just watched Suicide Squad. Damn it. Uh, a thief named Captain Boomerang, played by Jai Courtney, who still sucks because it's Jai Courtney, and his character is really bad. I mean, Captain Boomerang. Oh, he throws boomerangs. What the fucking knew? This guy's lame. He's as lame as fuck, and the character doesn't do anything. His accent is so thick in one scene, I can't understand a word he's saying. And for some reason, he could survive a hatchet chop to the chest. I guess he has superpowers. He's completely useless. Genetic mutation, of course, Killer Croc, who he's a crock of shit. He's a complete waste of a character. Like only he doesn't do that much. Like he'll punch some of the bad guys at one point in time, or he'll swim underwater with these scuba guys and fight some of the monsters that are underneath the water, so the scuba guy can go in and get the bomb ready. But other than that, he's not much of anything. Except for some reason, this character is some black stereotype. I don't understand why. I'm not trying to make this about race or anything, but I mean, come on. He's your typical, like, black gangster thug type character. And he's all, like, dressed up like he's a rapper and shit, and then has a really terrible line near the end where the I think it's the Enchantress, or not the Enchantress, it's the other guy, like the Amanda Waller's asking, "Well, what do you want? You know, anything that you want, like, what do you want?" And of course, you know, Harley Quinn's like, "I'd like a cappuccino machine." And what does Killer Croc want? BET. That line was so bad that even my stepdad was like, "What?" He was like he didn't even know what BET was. He's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, what was he saying?" I was like, BET. Black entertainment television. Get it? Because he's black. And he wants his BET. God. Fuck me. Yeah, speaking of BET, I want to BEAT David Ayer for writing such shitty dialogue. Like, what the fuck were you thinking, man? That is right up there with some of the worst lines of dialogue I can come up with. That's right up there with your lines in Sabotage, where the whole thing where, oh man, it smells like he just dumped ass. Yeah, and it smelled like brisket. Same guy. I should not be surprised. You have dialogue this bad from the same writer of Sabotage. Oh god, BET. Give me a fucking break. And speaking of BET, you know, it seems like nowadays if you decide, if you know, at least for me, if I decide to give a DC universe, you know, DC cinematic universe film a chance, it's a wrong BET, as in a wrong bet. And I hate to say that, but it just seems like it. I mean, it's just disappointment all the way around because the studio can't get out of the way of the creators. It's like, oh my god, we reshoots and this, and we don't like the way that this is. We need more scenes of them bonding and saying shitty one-liners. Because we don't want to be like Marvel, but yet we do. We do want to be like Marvel because we want the Marvel money. Anyway, so the other characters, you got Slipknot, who says, I don't even think he says anything. I don't even think he has a line of dialogue. I think he says nothing. I don't, I, I'm trying to, what's the guy's name? Adam Beach? I don't know if he says anything. He's just a guy with rope, he specializes in rope and knots. I mean, some of these characters, you don't even have any character development. You got Deadshot as some character development because, you know, he's a hitman for hire, but he also has a daughter that he loves and he cares for, that he wants to get her, you know, into a good situation. Harley Quinn, of course, we all know about Harley Quinn. Uh, El Diablo, you have a little backstory with him. Captain Boomerang, you don't know anything about him except I guess he's he's a thief. Killer Croc, it seemed like he was just in the prison the whole time from the beginning. Slipknot, no, I don't know anything about the guy. I mean, the first time you see him is like a picture of his face when Amanda Waller is talking about assembling the team. And it's like, who the fuck is that guy? Because all the other characters, they had their own little introductions, but not that guy. He's not important enough. Well, he's the first one to die, so I guess he isn't. He's not important enough. And then of course, then you have Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman, RoboCop himself. Where he's just the character is he's like he's supposed to be like the leader of the team, but he's a fucking wet napkin, so it's not very believable, and he just comes across like he's such a bad actor. He reminds me of John Cena. Like, remember when John Cena tried to act? That's what he reminds me of. He even throws in like a terrible Southern accent as well that I swear comes and goes throughout the whole movie. Like at one point I'll have it, and then another point he won't. He's just a shitty actor, and he's unlikable. I hate his face. I hate his face. Yeah, I will always associate his stupid face with RoboCop, and so I automatically hate him because I hate RoboCop. Get this RoboCop out of my face. Get him out of this squad. I was just waiting for the squad to like kill his ass or the Joker to fucking kill him or something. No, because he needs to stay alive because he's there for the lover. He's the love interest. He's there to get, I don't know, for audiences to feel for him or something because he has a relationship with Enchantress, played by, Cara Delevingne. I don't know how to say her last name. Forgive me. Um, so yeah, so this team, the Suicide Squad, are disposable assets. They're expendables. And they're going to be used in high-risk missions for the United States government. Each member has a nanobomb implanted in their neck, which reminds me of better movies like Fortress or Deadlock with Rutger Hauer, or Escape from New York. I mean, it's not Escape from New York. It was a poison. It was like a virus or something. It wasn't a nano bomb, but it's the same sort of thing. I mean, when they crash into this one part of the city and it's abandoned, it totally reminded me of Escape from New York. And I'm not the only one, because a fan made like a fan poster of this movie inspired by Escape from New York. So, if the movie was more like Escape from New York, it would be better. But nope. There's no Duke. There's no, yeah, and number one. There's none of that. There's a lot of number one. There's a lot of number one and a lot of number two in this movie, but there's no Duke. Anyway, this whole plan by Amanda Waller is she's just testing this squad out. So all it is a test run. And it's waste your time for the first hour of the film. Their first mission is fucking pointless. And Amanda Waller's plan is stupid. Is beyond moronic. I mean, she's all like, oh, well, I'm going to take a group of criminals and I'm going to try to use them in order to prove to these government guys that I can get them to work together as a team and do my bidding. But in order to do that, I'm going to unleash this super powerful sorceress bitch who's then going to fuck shit up, and then I can't stop her, so then I'm going to have the Suicide Squad make up for my mistakes and clean up my mess. Pretty much. That's the whole plot. That's why this plot sucks. That's why this plot is so putrid. Is because it's just it's really pointless for the most part, and it's not very engaging, and it doesn't really feel like there's a real threat. Because the Enchantress, what the fuck is her plan? She's building a swirling portal with trash spinning in a circle? Like, what the fuck was that about? Like, what is that going to do? Like, I heard something, oh, it's going to be like a machine. What is it? What the machine was going to do? What? It's going to turn everybody into those walking blackberries? What the fuck? What the fuck, movie? What the fuck? Seriously, Suicide Squad. What the fuck? I mean, all the villains sucked ass. You had really weak villains. You had a poor script to begin with that didn't have very good characterization except for like 3 characters. And the only reason why I was somewhat interested in seeing how this ended is because of Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and Jay Hernandez. But everyone else, I didn't give a flying fuck about. These characters they weren't even characters. Killer Croc was just some stereotype who wants his BET. Slipknot is some Native American guy who doesn't get a line of dialogue and is the first one to die. Captain Boomerang is some fucking loser thief with an Australian accent who just throws boomerangs and they explode. He's like a even shittier version of Hawkeye. I mean, and El Diablo, I like the actor, and his performance is fine, but his powers are generic. He's just a fire guy, and then he'll turn into like a big skeleton. Looks like something from the ancient Aztecs or something. Like an ancient Aztec god or whatever, but it looked like shit because the CGI was bad. And then, of course, you got the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, Juggalo Joker, which, I'm sorry, he was fucking terrible. He was awful. He was a joke. I mean, what is up with what is up with these movies and having the villain and having the actor who's playing the villain rip off Jim Carrey. Like he was totally just Jim Carrey. Like straight to the mannerisms, to the way he was acting. I mean, it was Jim Carrey. I mean, stuff like this. Okay, you know this line of dialogue for the Joker. Trying to remember it. I'm gonna find this one. It's like, "Are you sweet talking me? All of that chit chat's gonna get you hurt. Now let me tell you something." Really, it was like Fire Marshal Bill Joker. It was just not. What is up with these movies? Like DC, I mean, what? Come on, can you have a villain that isn't Jim Carrey from Batman Forever? Can we not keep fucking recycling that performance? Yeah, I mean, you already did it in Batman vs Superman. I mean, you had fucking Jesse Eisenberg channeling his inner Jim Carrey, and now you have Jared Leto channeling his inner Jim Carrey as well. And I'm glad they didn't have that many scenes with him in it, because he fucking sucked. He was terrible. He was really, really bad. And I know I don't have a lot of creative insults to throw at him. I mean, but yeah, it really was. It was a total joke. It was pathetic. It was all kinds of atrocious. It was cringe-inducing at times. Reminded me of Nicolas Cage and Spirit of Vengeance. So yeah, and all that bad behavior on the set, like sending people anal beads and shit, really wasn't worth it. Juggalo Joker. The design sucks. It's just, who is this fucking poser? Really? Who the fuck is this guy? It looks like he belongs on the Jersey Shore. Get this fucking Joker get out of here. Joker was right, because he's a fucking joke. I hated his laugh, too. Ha! So anyway, yeah, I just had to vent there a little bit on Jared Leto's Joker. Okay, so now we get more of the plot, alright? Waller's intended recruits for the group, of course, is Enchantress. And the origin of this character is done so poorly. The editing is so bad. Um, and the writing here is so unbelievably it's unbelievably bad. I know I keep saying bad. I can't really think of anything else to say. Like what are these other words for bad, really? Because I know I'm repeating myself here. I'm just trying to think of something else. uh, Inferior, unbelievably inferior storytelling. So she goes in, and this is her origin. She's some archaeologist, and she falls into some cave, and she finds this statue of some kind. And she's an archaeologist, mind you, okay? She's an expert, supposedly. What does she do? She, like, fucking breaks the top off of it for some stupid reason and gets possessed by the Enchantress. Did you not have time to write the script? Like, you had almost 3 months to write this script, David Ayer. I mean, that's the best you could come up with? Or is that something that was a rewrite by the studio? Like, I can't believe that you'd be that lazy. I really, gee, oh my God, just, I no, I'm just, it leaves me speechless. It really does. It leaves me speechless. How bad the writing is. So anyway, she gets possessed by the Enchantress. The Enchantress, of course, quickly turns on Waller. And the whole thing is that when Waller kind of had control over her because she stole her heart. I don't know how they're able to steal her heart. I guess Rick Flag did it earlier at one time, but we don't really see it, so fuck if I know. So the Enchantress, though, quickly decides to turn on humanity and wants to kill us all with some mystical machine that's made out of trash in the sky. And then she ends up storming Midway City, transforms this populace into a horde of walking blackberries, summons her brother, who we don't even know what the fuck his name is, to assist her, who looks a lot like the Destroyer, I think that's what it's called, from Thor. Then Waller deploys a suicide squad to extract some high-profile mark from Midway, which is reported to be under a terrorist attack. But of course, it's not. It's nothing. All it is just some kind of thing where it's like, oh, I wanted to show that you guys could do it, that I could put together a team of criminals and get them to do my bidding. Just pointless. So fucking pointless. And of course, then you have scenes with the Joker, played by Jared Leto, who finds out about her predicament. He tortures the security officer Griggs into leading him to the facility where the nanobombs are made. And all this is just done in such quick cut editing, and just this film has no sense of time. There's a scene later in the movie where there's a big reveal that Rick Flag is talking about how, oh, this was all a ruse or something. Like he knew all along what they were sent to do, and it was like 3 days ago, like the Amanda Waller, she took out, 3 days ago she sent me to investigate something, and with the Enchantress and whatever, and then 3 days ago, like the movie has no sense of time, so they say like 3 days ago, and these are all events that felt like they happened in one night. That's how bad the editing and how bad the fucking writing is in this movie. Because 3 days have gone by, but they feel like it's happened all in one night. So it's really easy to lose track of what's going on in this movie because it's fucking all over the place, and the editing, like I said, is egregious. It's a hack job. It looks like they edited with the fucking butcher knife. It's a mess. So the helicopter gets shot down. They then proceed on foot to their target. That's where you have a decent action sequence where they're fighting these walking blackberries of doom, and all the different characters get their shots in. Katana shows up, and she's a completely another useless character. We don't know anything about her except her husband was killed by the sword that she has that entraps people's souls. And we don't really get to see it in action, which would have been cool, but no. We just see a scene where she slices one of the blackberries' heads in slow-mo. That's really it. Woo. So, of course, then at the same time, Slipknot, he ended up killing himself because he's like, I'm gonna cut and run, and then gets blown up. Good. I mean, I can't say I missed you because I didn't know anything about you. So the Joker then shows up. He blackmails one of the program scientists into disabling Harley's bomb. The helicopter's shot down. Then they fight. The villains. Of course, that actually happened. And the helicopter gets shot down after that. Wikipedia has even Wikipedia got it wrong. They got the order of those scenes wrong. Boomerang, the Slipknot gets killed. Squad is attacked by these walking blackberries. They fight their way to a safe room where they learn that the mark is Waller herself, who's attempting to cover up her involvement in Enchantress's siege. Yeah. Oh, it wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was just, it's just a training exercise. No, it's just Waller's just like, I'm gonna hire you guys to fucking cover up for my dumbass. That's even worse. Wow. God. Fucking movie. Shit. The squad then escorts Waller to a rooftop for extraction, but the helicopter gets attacked by the Joker, who opened fire on the squad. Oh, actually, no, they did get it right. I'm wrong. Sorry. I saw this movie I saw it like a few days ago, and I've already forgotten about most of it. So the Harley climbs aboard with her pudding. Helicopter gets shot down. Harley jumps out. Joker seems like he's dead. Waller asks Deadshot to shoot Harley, but he misses. And then they have a scene where they bond and drink in a bar, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like this movie earned it. And then, because they're best buddies now, Flag, and he tells the truth about what happened 3 days ago, and they abandon him. Flag relieves the squad of the mission, but he chooses to continue. The squad then teams up, and they locate Enchantress at some subway station that's partially flooded. And then Killer Crop shit, and a group of Navy SEALs, led by some guy named Lieutenant GQ. Not making that up, his name is Lieutenant GQ. They go underwater to plant a bomb underneath her brother, who we don't even know what the fuck his name is. El Diablo embraces his abilities. It's on, bitch. And then, you're screwed. Now you're screwed. And then his name is Incubus. Alright. We have a name. Had to look that up. So then Incubus blows up. And then the remaining squad members, they battle Enchantress together in one of the worst climactic action sequences I can think of in recent memory. It's shot in all this gray filter. Everything's dark. Everything's so gray. It's ash gray. It's like they shot it, near Mount St. Helens after the volcano exploded. And you can't see shit. And it's not much of anything anyway. And then it has... Oh my... I can't believe... This ending I still can't believe. I can't believe Enchantress gets defeated this way. She asked them to join her, which kind of reminded me of Ghostbusters. There's a lot of things that remind me of Ghostbusters, like the portal, and then the scene where they walk up the stairs, and Harley Quinn's like, man, I need to do some cardio or something. Like the scene in Ghostbusters. Like, oh man, remind me when we get to the floor. I forgot the exact name of the floor. I'm gonna throw up. No, they have to walk up these long stairs to get where they need to go, and then this portal in the sky, and you have this female kind of spiritual, villain who's all like, join me. I mean, the only thing that was missing was like, choose the form of your destructor. I mean, really. It's like the Enchantress is just Gozer. And then there's this dumb thing where she's like, join me, and together we will rule the galaxy. But anyways, like, join me, and Harley Quinn's thinking about doing it, but she dupes her. It's like, this she's supposed to be the super powerful villain, and she falls for the oldest trick in the book. They'll put her there. Oh, I can't believe you fell for it. Oh, hold on, let me give it back to you. Oh, you fell for it again. It's totally. I mean, Lord Helmet from Spaceballs is more intelligent than the Enchantress. I mean, come on now, movie. When Lord Helmet, Rick Moranis from Spaceballs, which is a comedy, who's a joke of a bad guy, he's a walking joke. When he's smarter than your main villain, you fucked up. You done fucked up bad. So, yeah, she falls for it and gets stabbed by Harley Quinn. Because the sword is Katana's sword or somebody else's sword was conveniently placed right in front of the Enchantress. So then Harley could do the whole gotcha and then stab her. So bad. And, of course, cuts out Enchantress's heart, stabs her in the heart. Killer Croc throws explosives into Enchantress's weapon. Deadshot shoots them, destroys the device in a CGI explosion. Flag takes Enchantress's heart and crushes it. Frees his girlfriend June from the curse. Doesn't really mean anything to me, though, because I didn't give a shit about these characters. Oh, they're in love. I don't fucking care. And I have to admit, there was a good scene I liked earlier where the enchantress is trying to trick them and showing them their fantasies. And I really liked the scene where it showed Harley Quinn her fantasy was she wanted to be normal and have a normal life. And I liked the way that it transitioned where she pressed a button that said normal, and then she has a normal life. She's got a kid, she lives in the suburbs. She's got Jared Leto without makeup as her husband. I liked that. That was good. But that's what I'm saying. Brief moments of creativity, but it's all covered in shit. So you have to dig through the shit in order to get to the moments of creativity and the genuine ingenuity and the good things about Suicide Squad. So they saved the day from a threat that wasn't even that clear to begin with. And they get returned to Belle Reve with 10 years off their sentences. Of course, they get special privileges that they wanted, except for Captain Boomerang. Joker, he survives the crash, and he breaks into the penitentiary, and he reunites with Harley. And I don't know why they had to do this. This is a nitpick, but it just stood out to me. The Joker shows up, and he breaks in, and he's got a SWAT team outfit on, SWAT armor on, that says Joker on it. I'm like, what the we know it's the Joker. Is this for the idiots in the audience? We're like, oh, I don't know who that is. Oh, you need to know that it's a Joker before he takes his helmet off? I mean, you see him take his helmet off, so you know it's the Joker right then and there. What is the point of having Joker across his chest? I know it's nitpicky, but it's just dumb. It's all kinds of dumb. It's like this movie. There's a lot of dumb shit in this movie. So yeah, they get the special privileges. Joker, breaks out Harley. There's a mid-credit scene, which is pointless. It just seems like they ripped off the Avengers. You could just replace Bruce Wayne with Nick Fury, and Amanda Waller with Tony Stark. It's the same kind of scene. Bruce Wayne's like, all right, I'll protect you from Enchantress in exchange for access to the government's files on the expanding metahuman community, aka, the Flash and Aquaman, who you saw Flash in some pointless cameo earlier too. Is he the one that stopped Killer Croc, or he stopped Captain Boomerang or something? Like the Flash stops one of the criminals. That's why he gets sent to jail. And Batman, you have Ben Affleck's cameo, which is completely pointless. The most impact he makes is when he punches Harley Quinn in the face for seems like no reason. She's underwater, she's already incapacitated, and so he punches her in the face and then drags her out of the water. So even the Batman cameos weren't much of anything. And I know Chris L was wondering my thoughts on a scene where like Flag tells Harley to shut up. Like, that didn't really bother me. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that bother me a lot more than that scene when it comes to this movie. It's just the story. I mean, the story is it's just not very it's second rate. It's unsatisfactory. The characters are not that well developed. The ones that are, it's just there's just a little bit, but you want more, but you don't get it. With characters like Deadshot and Harley Quinn, and it's just, yeah. I mean, this film, it's a lot of wasted potential. There's some good sequences here and there, decent bits of action, but there's not a lot of it actually. You saw most of it in the trailer, which that's another disappointing thing about this movie. You just have a very poor plot that has this whole thing where it's the whole crux of it is Amanda Waller just wanting to hire some criminals to clean up her bullshit. It's pretty much what it is. And then, oh, I can't do it myself, so I got to get these people to do it. Well, no, now I'm fucked. Now I'm in trouble. Well, it's like you're hinging your hopes on this whole thing on a gang of criminals. It's just, this is not very. It's a poor plot because it's not an interesting plot. And then the villains, they suck. They're completely forgettable. They're not a threat. in any way. I wasn't scared of these villains. These villains didn't scare me. I wasn't afraid. I mean, Batman and Robin did a better job explaining why the villains were a threat. I mean, that is sad. That is so sad. I mean, when Batman and Robin, which is such a shoddy pile of shit, is able to get things to come across better than in its story in terms of the threat, better than your film does. I mean, yeah, Batman and Robin does have the whole thing where what I'm talking about is Batman and Robin sets it up perfectly. Mr. Freeze is going to freeze Gotham. Okay, it's a pretty big deal. And then Poison Ivy's going to get her plants to take over and pick up the scraps. That's a pretty terrifying thing, and they establish it pretty early on, and it's a pretty viable threat. And it's kind of ruined though. The impact is definitely ruined by stupid scenes of a dog getting frozen in mid piss. But Suicide Squad isn't much better because it's such a murky, muddled threat to begin with. I don't even know what it was. I don't even know what the threat was. So if I don't know what it is, there's no reason to really be afraid of it or to fear for the safety of these characters in the film because I don't even know what they're fighting for. I don't even know what they're fighting against. I don't even know what they're trying to stop. So anyway, yeah, that's the main thing about this movie. It's just the totally destructive, damaging inconsistency of its story, of its plot, of its dialogue, of its tone. And there was 3 good characters, 2 really good ones, and Deadshot and Harley Quinn, but the other ones weren't much. And there's not a lot of action. It's over 2 hours. It's not very fast paced. It's not particularly that entertaining. And so you just have a very faulty, amateurish, miserable movie. I mean, I've seen worse, but I can't really say I want to watch this again. I have no desire to watch it again, even with the fun that I did have with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. But that's just me. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I've ranted on this movie and did a review of it for almost an hour. I don't know what else to say except it was rated out of 5 stars. I would give it 2 out of 5. And, that's what it is. It's a below average movie to me. It's not even a time waster. It just feels like it was a waste of time. Anyway, thank you for watching my review / rant on Suicide Squad. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a long one. I'm sorry. I just had a lot to get off my chest in regards to this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed it regardless, though. And as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.